Good afternoon, everyone, and a very warm welcome to Quickbooks Labs. Quickbooks Labs has evolved. We've taken on your feedback and is now a monthly podcast slash panel show designed still to be a place to learn all about QuickBooks and other accounting software, but also with a little extra twist now, as we give the opportunity to have some great minds of the industry onto the show, invite them and give them a chance to talk about the topics that we have on offer. We still aim for the first Wednesday of each month. We kind of failed this time, but promise you we'll get back into that routine at some point, at which point we hang around these microphones to talk about all about the latest news, tips and tricks for QuickBooks in the world of accountancy. And oh boy, do we have some stuff to talk about today. I'm one of your hosts, I'm Patrick, a chartered accountant and owner of an accounting firm called Boffix, a QuickBooks certified trainer with a fancy new logo, and that QuickBooks chap on the YouTube. And join me is a panel of experts, and I'll let them introduce themselves one by one.
Shall I go?
Yeah.
Me again, Ash Beetson, QuickBooks trainer / bookkeeper / accountant, software provider as well, net tracker. Over to you, Charlie.
Thank you, Ash. Yeah, I'm Charlie Khan. I am an accountant in practice, a long-time QuickBooks user, all the way back to desktop QuickBooks, back to about 2003 or 4. Yeah, that's it. That's me.
Excellent. And we'll make sure at the end we give you a chance to promote whatever you want to promote and push and everything else. Okay, so today, what have we got in store for you? Well, it's a cracker. First of all, let's talk about what we do and how we normally get around with this. So first of all, we are live to the world at the regular time of 4:30 a.m., 10:30 Central US time. And if you're listening back at a later time, then why not think about joining us live? That way you get to ask us questions during the show, keep us honest, and making sure that you can interact with us as well. Don't forget, we're on those podcasting services around the globe, so do feel free to subscribe to the podcast service of your choice. Our agenda for today's show is quite jam-packed. We've got a public service announcement regarding Research 2022 and including the swag that you could have got this time around. Some updates to QuickBooks, including team certification, which is a huge change in my opinion, and well good, worthwhile looking into. A small but subtle change in the way that we merge contacts. We'll show you that one. We look over to the USA and see what changes have happened there, including some premium integrations. Have a little look back at Accountex 2022 and a discussion on that one. Look at Digital Accounting Show 2022, which is tomorrow. Have a look at Sage and how they've been changing the world of accountancy. And then also some shock to us all as Iris looks like it's going to innovate. And a couple more topics that we've got as well. So let's start at the very beginning though. Public service announcement. Let's go around the room then, and we'll go to you, Ash. How's your Research 2022 going this time around?
It's good. I did it a few weeks ago.
Yeah? Did you get swag? I
didn't get the swag. I think I left it a little bit too late. But I did do it. I did pass. And I sort of did it in my hotel room when I was staying away, sort of 1 o'clock in the morning. I sort of thought, I'm going to get the recertification done. So I did it.
Charlie, what about you? Have you got yourself recertified?
I've been a very, very bad boy. I set it up. I had a diary entry to do it on the day. I thought, well, I'll go for some swag this time. And I didn't get time to do it in the first 2 hours. And I thought, well, if I can't do it the first 2 hours. And then last week I was away in New York. So I haven't yet done it, but I will do it this week.
Good. So yeah. The public service announcement, if you've got till the end of this month, 30th of June, to get your recertification done and dusted. Just a little sneak peek at what swag you missed out on then. So just in case any of you want to be a little bit jealous, you got your nice QuickBooks water bottle. So, you know, that would have been nice. Means that me and Ash don't have exclusive water bottles now. It means everybody's got them.
QuickBooks mug. Yeah.
We got yourself a QuickBooks umbrella as well, if you were one of those first.
I've already got one.
And then finally, socks. So, you know, you get what you need. But no, well, it wasn't a bad swag this year. I would say last year's was a better swag. I don't know if you remember what we got last year, but yeah, it was a blanket. Exactly. Yeah, it was really.
Nice.
Yeah, we still use that picnic blanket to this day. So, yes, please do get yourself recertified by the end of June. And actually, weren't involved with it this year. What did you think to the actual exam and all that sort of stuff? Did you find it challenging, or how was it?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I think I did have to read some of the questions a few times, to be quite honest. I don't know whether it's because it was like 1:30 in the morning. That might have been part of the reason. But yeah, it was. Yeah, I got a couple wrong. I'm not sure whether it's because I just didn't read the question properly. Possibly. But yeah, it wasn't too bad.
And I'm sure, Charlie, you'll be absolutely fine when you get around to it.
Well, the fifth, because I don't use the phone app, and I know there are questions on the phone app every time. So those are the bits that I need to sort of read up on in advance, because I never use the app. So
I mean, there's a very good video on the training portal about the phone app, but
I've heard
a little bit biased.
Brilliant at it. Yeah,
a little bit biased as it was my video, so I would say that. No, you know as well as anyone, don't you, Ash, that we would like to put more, so we say, challenging questions in, but in the end we kind of get told what type of questions, what level we should be aiming for. So no, you should be absolutely fine. But do everyone get yourself recertified by the end of this month. Speaking of recertification, we do actually have a nice new addition to QuickBooks itself, and I think this is a lovely one. So if you go to your QuickBooks accountant, notice I'm QuickBooks accountant because I've got the QB accountant sign on the left-hand side, and I have this grey bar, so I'm pretty much in my practice area. If I went to my team and I noticed there's this new option here called certifications, click on certifications, and it's going to tell you what certifications your team members have had. Now, I'm in a demo company, so I've got none here. But in my practice here, this is an absolute lifesaver. I can see what certifications my team members have and when it expires. What do we all think to this update then, people?
Yeah, that's nice. I mean, it
excellent,
doesn't affect me because I've always worked on my own, but I can definitely see the benefit for people like you, Aaron, and others that have got one or two people working for them, definitely, because you can have a quick look in there, and if they've not done their little QuickBooks exam, you can crack the whip and say, it's about time you got yourself qualified.
But we're getting even more tough nowadays. Where if we have any subcontractors or anything like that working for us, it's a requirement now. So this is the best way for us to know if they're keeping the requirement and actually doing what they say they're doing. So what do you think to it, Charlie?
Yeah, I wasn't aware that was there. I'm just having a look at it right now on my other screen, and it looks like one of them's definitely done it. Another one hasn't. Oh no, the other one who hasn't is me. Another one, okay. So a couple have, a couple haven't. Yeah, and I'm one of the ones that hasn't. So slap wrists to me. But yeah, that's rather good. I like that.
Yeah, it's a nice little addition, isn't it? Came out the blue as well. I'm not sure if anyone else was. I know they were talking about it, weren't they, Ash? It was always kind of like a conversation topic, but no, it just appeared out of the blue. There's a few teething problems when it first launched, but that's what always happens. But now it's absolutely perfect. The data I've gone through the data on my practice, and it's absolutely spot on. So very, very, very happy with that one. Another update to QuickBooks as well, and another one that completely came out of the blue. We've never seen anything like this, or anything that was going to happen. And I know actually means that you've had to do some updates to the course advanced certification, haven't you, on this one? So now we have a brand new tooltip on how to merge our customers and contacts area. So if I just bring it up on screen, merging of customers and contacts. Oh, gone to the wrong place. Merging of customers and contacts was always a bit of an odd one, wasn't it, Ash? It was always one of those ones where when we taught them, people were like, oh, okay, that's how you do it. But it wasn't obvious, was it, of how to do it? Yeah. So the way you used to have to do it was you jump into your customer, you went to edit, and then you change the display name to be the same display name as the other person. Up will pop a tooltip, and it gave you the opportunity to merge that one. Because remember, you can only have a unique tooltip, unique display names at any point in time. But now they've given you the option of using this little drop-down arrow here, And from that drop down arrow, you can still make it active as it's always been, but now you can see the chance to merge contacts just there. From there, you can pick what contact it is you want to merge with. So I'm going to merge with Aaron Patrick. That then is going to merge all of the address, phone numbers, and everything else. I press merge contacts, and simple as that, I've now deleted Alfie. If I go to Aaron, you'll notice that now that data has been put into there. What do you think to that one, people? Who wants to go first on that one?
Yeah, I think that was great. I've just I'd heard that was happening. Hadn't played with it before, but it's rather good. It's what I used to tend to do is, particularly if it's slightly a longer name, but I'd go into exactly as you were just showing, Aaron. But I would go into the first one, copy the first name, and then go into the second one just to make sure I got it absolutely right. So this will definitely save time. Less likely to make an error. I think it's great. Very good idea.
Interesting to know where you heard that one from, though, because that completely blindsided. I never knew that was. I didn't even consider that was going to be an issue.
I wonder if someone mentioned it to me at Accountex. Maybe
Okay.
someone on the QBO stand. Maybe I seem to mention it. I can't remember, but maybe.
Interesting. What about you, Ash?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely. It's like it's always been a hidden tool, hasn't it? If you don't know it's there, you wouldn't know. But now that it's actually appears in a menu. Yeah, it does seem a little bit easier.
Definitely.
What I would say, though, they should use the same format for merging nominal accounts and the chart of accounts.
Yeah, that is very true.
That's another one that seems more complicated to do. I mean, it's not complicated at all, but to the extent there's any complication in it, it's slightly more. And I think that would be a nice way to merge things as well.
Yeah. I think the only difficulty there is that sometimes you'll have a liability account and an asset account, and you can't merge the two if they've got two different types.
Yeah.
So that's probably why they'll hold back on that.
Yeah, I mean, they could offer you in the same way that if you try to change the name from an asset to a liability to merge it, it will tell you the same thing. They could do that within this screen as well, I suppose.
Yeah.
Or maybe only offer you in the drop down other nominal accounts of the same type, and say, maybe that's the way they could do it. But
yeah, because they've got this area here, haven't they? And maybe that's where they could put error messages up and items like that. Because you're right, aren't you? Actually, it again, it's not obvious, is it? You try and do the merge, then it pops up with the error message, and sometimes it'd be a bit confusing as to why, isn't it? So
yeah.
Maybe with that, like Charlie's saying, maybe if we had like that synchronized way of merging, they could offer the tooltip there, or bring it into that information there. So
it could go even further. It could even say to you this: if you want to merge this particular type of account with one that's in an asset that's gone into liabilities or something, you could say, do you want to change the type of account? I mean, that could open up problems, and it should come up with a big error warning and saying that if you're not a bookkeeper or an accountant, you don't know what you're doing, maybe ask someone for advice, but it's possible to do it. Might be a useful way of getting around that.
Definitely. Cool. No, but yeah, great little addition. Again, blindsided me, but yeah, that's not the end of the world. And I think it's I think that's going to be a nice little, much easier way for people to understand it going forward. So more the merrier with that one. Okay, next topic then. So we're going to go over the pond now and talk about QuickBooks in US of A. And basically what we're talking about here is the fact that there is going to be some enhancements to, I'm pretty sure this is just to the advanced version of QuickBooks. I think that's where, quite quick, the premium apps are. But basically QuickBooks announced some new premium integrations. So I don't know if you've seen it over on the American side, but if you go to the banking area now, you can go to what's called apps. And in there, currently what you can connect is Amazon was always the first one that came in, so you can bring in actual transactions directly from Amazon. So it included not only the transaction itself, but it also included like attachments and things like that. Really, really powerful. And they're actually opening that up to more options now. So I went and played with there the other day. eBay's there now. Square is there as well. So those two items are coming in. Now, interestingly, with the eBay one, it didn't seem to be the one SaaS connection. It seemed to be another connection altogether, which is cool to see. And they're also hyping up quite a lot the whole Excel integration as well, with the idea where you can bring the data directly into Excel and have it more of a kind of live data that's coming through, very much like GACOM and live flow and everything like that are achieving with Google. with the Google Sheets and going from there. So yeah, it's interesting. It seems to be the whole advanced, or not, sorry, the premium integration apps is one that they're going into in quite a lot of detail on, and quite a lot of data. And from your thing, Ash, I mean, you would have thought from the developer point of view, that's got to be a good thing, isn't it? That they're giving you more, or they're giving certain apps more kind of flexibility and things to do in QuickBooks and stuff. That's got to be a good thing all around, hasn't it?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's how you become a premium app. I think is like a 20 years away, but yeah, for sure. To get that deeper integration is something, I think, is something that they'll probably hopefully aim to do with a lot of more apps moving forward. It's just that perhaps it's slightly easier with the sort of the banking based ones, because they all work in a very similar way. Once you're looking at transactions coming into you're almost like bringing a bank feed in, aren't you? With the likes of eBay and Amazon. So there's probably some fairly simple coding options that go on in the background that says, well, basically we've got a date, we've got a description, and we've got values, and that's pretty much all we need to display in very simple terms. There's obviously other little bits and bobs as well, but that probably makes it a bit easier.
Yeah, definitely. And I assume, and I can only assume here, that it's going to be one of those that the more premium integrations they have and the more success that is, that the opportunity then for the likes of yourself to have access to that toolkit, because you would have thought if they've kind of developed it for eBay and all these lot and they're all using it really well, then hopefully that somehow gets into the SDK and gives you access to those more tools. But we'll kind of have to wait and see on that one.
Yeah, I suppose it would be nice in a way, so that you're whatever app, so whether it's us or whether it's one of the reporting apps, to almost have your menu link directly within QuickBooks. It means that that app user doesn't have to go to another browser or another app login, because they'll be able to log directly in. So you've got that. You have got that to a degree already. So if depending on whether you're logged in as an accountant or a small business user, so sometimes you'll find when you're logged in through the small business, you go to apps down the left hand side, don't you? And you can sort of see the apps menu, and if someone has connected their app, it will appear and they can click on it, and it will basically sign in through single sign-on. But it's not quite the same as actually having your menu embedded within the other list of
software.
Menus.
Yeah, it makes sense. And Charlie, by looks at this is advanced only. I know we don't have advanced only in UK at the moment, but if it was going to come to the UK, have you got kind of any ideas of what apps would benefit from our point of view? I mean, eBay sounds great, but
well, I mean, you say just before I quite answer that one, you say advanced only. I hadn't heard of this, so I've got a US account with. Yeah. Only because I can't remember what, I think someone in the US wanted me to help them some years ago. So happen to have a free US QBOA account, and I've looked, and on the accountant page, I can see the app transactions as the sub menu of the banking menu. So it looks like it's not. So I don't think I've got advanced, or maybe it's because I'm in the accountant screen. I don't know, but it's often the Amazon Square and. Yeah. Oh, is it? Okay. Yeah. Okay. Well, that would answer that then. So yeah, so I see Amazon Square and eBay. The other one I would like to see would be Shopify. And yes, I would love to see it in the UK, but Shopify for me would be a good one for my clients.
And PayPal.
I guess
now PayPal still is just, don't know how it can still be wrong, but it's still wrong, isn't it? So
well, PayPal is the worst. I have to say I despair when anybody uses PayPal. I hate PayPal, but there we go.
If I can just, I might be able to share on screen if I can, just so we've got kind of context of it. Unless you want to share your screen, Charlie, but it would actually be probably a good idea just to quickly show what it is we mean. And it's not working my end, so no.
Want me to try and share?
Yeah, give it a go if you want to. If you've got no data on there that you don't want people to see.
No. Awesome. Share screen. Share screen is too long. Yeah. Am I sharing the right screen? Here we go. That one.
Awesome.
There we go.
Yeah.
So all I did was, you've got a normal banking screen, which hopefully has got no data in it. Yeah, there we go. And then just went to app transactions.
Brilliant.
And there we go. Amazon, Square, and eBay.
And on the article I was reading, they were talking about HubSpot. Who else was it? It was HubSpot. It was BrightPay and Salesforce. So yeah, I think they've got some really good ideas, and they're talking to the right sort of people there to kind of build that integration in. So yeah, let's hope it comes to UK. We can play with it a little bit more, but by the looks of it, yeah, absolutely spot on. And yeah, more of those premium integrations, the better by the sounds of it.
Did you just mention BrightPay?
Was it BrightPay? I'm sure it was BrightPay.
I was just thinking, well, all of the money and efforts has been put onto payroll. It just surprised me that they have a payroll app.
Maybe I misread the.
Coming through. I was thinking, crikey.
It might be something. Yeah, I can't find the article now, but yeah, you're right. BrightPay might be a stretch there. Okay, cool. So next topic we got then was Accountex 2020. 2022, should I say? And we've got quite a nice little panel here to talk about Accountex 2022 because we can see it from both sides. Ash, from your side of things as an actual exhibitor, how did you find it?
Yeah, it was interesting. It was quite a learning experience for me, being my first sort of time out doing that sort of thing. So maybe probably not as quite as beneficial as I might have liked, from it. It could be because where we were in the startup zone, you're sort of walking around. The place is huge, it's massive. You blink and you might sort of miss us from where we were, but we'd ordered it sort of 2 years ago before lockdown ever started, so we just stuck with it because it was a reasonable price at the time, so we just left it. But yeah, it's definitely do a few things differently if I did it again, but yeah, I'm glad I did it. So it was definitely worth going.
Awesome.
Charlie, what do you think to it this year?
Well, yeah, it was great. I mean, it's nice to get back in a room with people. Well, last year I managed to get to 2 events. I went to last year's digital accountancy show. We're going to probably talk about that shortly for this year. And I also went to the accounting web one in Coventry, which I've not been to before. But it's nice to sort of get back and actually meet people in the flesh rather than just at the virtual conferences, which really don't have anything of the value you get at an in-person event. I don't tend to go to the lectures at Accountex. I have in the past, so I tend to use it as a means of catching up with people I know, of seeing new software that's out, collaring people to find out why they're not bringing in new features that they've been promising us for ages, and things like that. And then also I tend to have a sort of quick run around the entire event, just see, are there any new stands, new vendors that I've not met before, don't know anything about, and maybe should know something about. And I think it worked pretty well this year, and yeah, I enjoyed it.
Yeah, I mean, there were definitely new people there, weren't there? That was I'm trying to think back to the previous couple of years, but I can't remember that being that many new, at least ones I'd never heard of or never kind of appreciated before. And I think a lot of that's down to there was a lot of stuff that wasn't as relevant as probably we need them to be. So I'm in that category. I'd say like the outsourcing and those like that. If you need outsourcing, then great, you've got loads of options there. But I don't really think Accountex is the right place to make that decision if you're going to outsource or not. And there was a lot of crypto, and again, I'm not 100% sure they need to be that many different options for crypto at this point in time, but fair play to them. If you kind of take them out of it, there was some really interesting new ideas starting up and opportunities there. And I think that's the best thing, isn't it? It's kind of like that appetite and that innovation's definitely there. And I think one of the biggest question marks that happen with a lot of them is, well, how do we then start integrating with the likes of QuickBooks and Xero and Sage? And I think that's where more probably needs to be done somehow going forward. It's got to be a way of making those integrations. Those those big players need to make it easier for people to integrate and to make their ideas work and all that sort of stuff. So I think that's kind of what I took from it, definitely. So what sort of things would you do differently next time, Ash? I did notice actually that some of the stands doing really well had like little mini games and little like golf and all that sort of stuff. Would you ever go down that sort of route? Would you sell yourself out like that?
No, I don't know. Yeah, it's something that I've just got to sort of think about. Yeah, whether it was the right place for us at the right time. In hindsight, with the digital accountants, so been better for us, possibly. But like I said, we're off to scaling new heights in the sort of week or so. So that's my main, like sort of where there's a lot more QuickBooks users, much more focused on pro advisors than anything else. So I'm quite quietly confident that it will probably suit us a little bit better.
And you almost use Accountex as like a really good learning ground, like you said, haven't you? And what to expect, what to do and stuff like that.
Yeah, it's a difficult one. You could sometimes you can sort of see people are walking around like on a mission, and do you try to sort of stand in their way and sort of go, or do you sort of just let them walk by? It's a very difficult one because you don't want to sort of let an opportunity walk past you, literally. At the same time, you don't want to be a pest and sort of grab someone when they're trying to find one of their work colleagues or trying to get to an event, because they want to go to one of those lectures. It's quite tricky.
Definitely. Yeah, because I don't know if you were the same, Charlie, but I got home and I had looked through my tote bag of all my stuff and whatever I've been passed over. I had this same one about I could win an Xbox probably 6 or 7 times. So obviously I've been collared by the same person. And I still, to this date, I still don't even know what they were trying to sell. So it definitely didn't work.
Yeah. Years ago, the one stand I always used to make a beeline for, despite never ever using their software, was Sage, because they used to have the only decent coffee at Accountex, and clearly others have now spotted that trick, and now you can get some decent coffee, with baristas employed. I mean, not just a member of their normal staff making a coffee, but somebody knows how to make a coffee. And that was all over the place. So that was great. That was a good improvement. Well done, Sage, for encouraging the others to follow your lead.
It was clever with Zero Wall, wasn't it? Their coffee stand was over the road from QuickBooks itself. So it was like literally you went to the QuickBooks stand. Yeah, QuickBooks stand, and their little cafe area was the next stand over. So you couldn't help but see Zero while in the QuickBooks area. So
I think you had to pay for the coffee at the Zero stand, didn't you?
Yeah, I think they had like a little cafe area. Yes, you had to pay for
that one. Yeah.
Where if you walked down the road to the Sage stand, it was free.
It was free, was it?
And a few others. So there's a tip for you, Ash. You just buy yourself one of those cheap little Nespresso machines for sort of £100, and just do that on your stand next time. And there you go. You give an espresso out to everybody.
Yeah, maybe.
Free coffee for everyone.
Here's a voucher for one of the other stands' coffee.
Well, QuickBooks were giving vouchers away for free booze at the end of the day on the first day, which was quite nice. They had some quite fancy cocktails.
They did, yeah. And I missed them because we were too busy chatting away. And speaking of Digital Accounting Show, that is tomorrow. Ash, you're not going, are you? But Charlie, what are you looking forward to from this one? Have you got anything you kind of beelining for, you're excited about? What's your take on it?
Again, it's the same as I said, really, probably for Accountex. I probably won't go to any of the lectures. I may sort of stick my head round a curtain and see what they're talking about. But I'd catch up with some of the software people. I'm going to caught up with most of the people I wanted to at Accountex, but some of the payment solutions are becoming a bit more interesting. So there's the Cresco for payments in and Comma for payments out. Yeah. There's a new one, Libio, which I'd vaguely heard of but hadn't come across. I had a chat with them at Accountex, and I'm going to have a look at them again. So there's a few of these things that are quite interesting. And then, as usual, just sort of see what's new. I think there might be a few people. I seem to remember there were last year some people at the Digital Accountancy Show that I hadn't seen at other shows, and Whether it was just that they were new or whether that shows a cheaper one to take a stand at, I don't know. Then maybe I'll look around and see who's new.
Yeah, should be good. Should be good. And the venue's awesome, isn't it? Like Tottenham Stadium.
Well, I'm a QPR fan, so no, it's awful. I'm afraid I'm going to
terrible stadium.
spontaneously ignite if I walk in. But yeah.
No, I'm looking forward. I've got a speaking spot this year, so I'm looking forward to getting all that sort of stuff sorted.
I'm going to break my rule and come and listen to you then.
Yeah, no, it should be a good one.
Yeah.
We're doing social media, so it should be good. And then we've also I don't know they've had a new CEO, haven't they? But Silverfin, the accounts production / kind of connection software and all that lot. They're holding like an innovations event as well. So yeah, that should be interesting to see how that goes on. So yeah, I'm looking forward to it very, very, very much so. And I can't believe it's come around. It seems like only yesterday we were kind of talking about our season of what to expect this year, and pretty much over after the County Show. I know there's a couple of regional events, isn't there? But then it's kind of preparing for the next year, isn't it? So, which is mad. Although ZeroCon's been and gone, hasn't it? I don't know if anyone knew anything that happened.
Or has it happened yet? Or is it next?
I think it's.
Has it?
I might have to Google it.
Yeah.
In my diary. I'm not going.
I've heard it been mentioned a few times, but I can't remember.
19th of July.
Oh, so it's still to come, right? Okay. Because it was intriguing to find out that there was no announcement, but that's probably why. Yeah.
I try and blag my way into the pre-con party, whatever they call it, which is always extremely good. I don't know if I can this year, but I'll see what I can do.
So do you normally go to the ZeroCon? Is that something you've
No, I went to the very, very first ZeroCon they had for about at the ICAW many years ago, which was great. Before QuickBooks did their shows, it was before Accountex, or at least before it was any good. And I was amazingly impressed. I've never ever seen an accountancy show quite like it. And clearly others have copied Xero. I think they were the first and the best, and they still do it extremely well. They are very, very good at that.
Awesome. Okay, so next topic then. Sage gets out their chat book yet again. So we kind of talk about this every couple of months, don't we? It's seems to be always. And I don't know if you've seen the new Sage logo as well, but they've rebranded as well. So now they've bought Futurely, isn't it? Is how you say it. Yep. So yeah, they've got them and bought the thing. It used to be called Crunch Boards back in the day. I don't know if anyone ever used it back when it was Crunch Boards as well. And they got bought out I think it was literally on the week of Accountex, wasn't it? That was kind of the big story that was going around at that point in time. And it's interesting. It's kind of built up their kind of own ecosystem. They're kind of going down that same path, aren't they? We've talked about it before with Sage, where they kind of want to own that ecosystem. They want to own the fact that they want a whole solution end to end. And I think this is quite an interesting purchase for them. It kind of shows them and puts them into some good lights when it comes to reporting and pushing things forward and everything like that. So what do you think to that one? Charlie, you want to go first? You want to give your opinions on it?
Great. I mean, I don't really use Futurely. I had a look at Crunchboards when they started and then when they became Futurely. It's a great product. I mean, it was initially aimed more at Xero users. It was quite a long time before it was available for QuickBooks. And I remember talking to Hannah in the very, very early days. And it's a very, very impressive product, and it's got better and better over the years. So great for Hannah, as long as Sage keep developing it. And I think the team and Hannah and her team have gone over and are sort of held there for a few years as part of the buyout. So I think that bodes very well for their customers. I think that's probably going to be a good thing for their users.
Yeah, especially when you think that both Auto Entry and Go Proposal, they're still, software agnostic, aren't they? They'll work on any piece of software that they used to work on. I don't think they've extended that, but you don't really expect them to extend to any other new software. But
well, I mean, Auto Entry, yeah. So I've used Auto Entry for some years. They haven't expanded it, which has been a criticism. But when I went to their standard Accountex, there's still, I mean, Brian is the main guy there. Well, the founder left. I can't remember his name. He left. But a lot of the other team that are still there, and Brian in particular is their main sort of trainer and so on there. And I think he's a developer, but he's on that side too.
Yeah.
Is still very much there, and so they've got a good team there. They don't seem to have mucked it about, which I think we'll come on to TaxFiler, and maybe I've got a slightly different opinion with Iris and TaxFiler, but yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it, with what's that? But I suppose with auto entry, what else can they innovate on unless they want to go down the receipt capture? The receipt bank / Dext route, where they're adding all these extra functionalities on that almost modifies what their core purpose was, doesn't it? So it's difficult for them to push it any further, really.
I would say, well, I would say they need to bring in multiple approval levels, or certainly not approvals, specifically multiple. And probably payments as well, but they could do that in conjunction with Modular or Comma or whoever. I think they absolutely need to do that, because otherwise they will lose that share to all the other companies that are going into that space, Livio and Plio and all the other people who are doing it from the other end. I mean, they're starting from the payment end, I think, and moving into the receipt capture. I
suppose
think
devil's advocate, wouldn't Sage want that functionality to be in Sage, not in auto entry?
It's the payment of the invoice is going to be very much part of that whole workflow. You capture the invoice, you extract the data, you approve it. Well, I mean, I've always commented on these things. There are two approvals. You're approving the payment to the supplier and therefore paying them, and then you've got the accountant or bookkeeper approving the accounting coding side of it. I would have thought that would fit neatly within, whether it's auto entry or Dex or whatever platform you were using. It fits neatly within there, to my kind of thinking of how the workflow should progress.
Interesting. Ash, what do you think to this? And do you think it's, the fact the checkbook's still out, have you kind of got hope of acquisition yourself, or are we going to get an exclusive?
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know, Aaron. I think I might have mentioned last week. I mean, I've had 3 emails in the past, probably in the past 3 months, with the email has been started off acquisition of NetTracker from people I don't know who they are, and I don't recognise the name, I don't recognise the company, so I take it with a pinch of salt. That someone's just basically trying to, have me over. That's the way that I usually think. So they sort of go into a little folder and say, "Thank you very much for your email, and not at this time, but I'll hold your email on file just in case they change their minds." But I don't know. I think it's definitely a good thing for Sage to buy up these apps where they're lacking in that functionality. They've improved their own reporting in Sage alone. What it was is a heck of a lot better to what you've got now. They in the Sage Cloud, it's not as strict like the old-fashioned Sage 50 year end. So it's you've got QuickBooks retained earnings is open. So as soon as you change the year end, it follows it on in exactly the same way, which makes the reporting a lot easier. So having the Futurely in, I don't know whether it does Futurely actually. I'm assuming it does actually connect with Sage, but I've not actually tried it.
Yeah, definitely. It's Sage, QuickBooks, and Xero.
Like Go Proposal didn't originally connect with Sage, as well as the other platforms.
Oh, really?
It's interesting. I'm looking at Futurely's website right now, and under integrations, they've only got Xero and QuickBooks.
Yeah.
Now maybe it does connect with Sage, but they're not advertising the fact, so it's too obvious. I don't know.
The full Sage integration is imminent, but I took that because the report was quite old, so I assumed it was already live. So
yeah. So it's they obviously need those apps to also to reach out to more customers at the same time, because you've got these apps that their core customers of being QuickBooks and Xero, especially like Charlie said, 0 in the case of Futurely. Well, how can I potentially reach those customers that I actually want to try to move into Sage? Well, if I've got customers, which in theory, Sage have now got extra customers, they'll be able to reach those and think, well, have you thought possibly about using our accounting software?
Mm-hmm.
And we've made all of these changes to it. I think that must be another way of basically marketing without probably upsetting GDPR, because you've got they're your customer.
Yeah, and I imagine they're really interested in the data as well, aren't they? Like, it's one of the things why we as a firm, we had that conversation about, do we still continue to use auto entry when they were bought out? Are we happy that suddenly Sage are going to know how many transactions we do and all this, that, and the other? And I suppose that's a conversation you've got to kind of have with yourself, isn't it? But they now hold that data. They know how many transactions you're pushing through. They know how many proposals you sent out if they got go cardless. And they know what your clients' cash flows are looking like and everything else, and reporting and everything else. So that's got to be useful for them, hasn't it? That's got to be one of the kind of main selling points for them.
Yeah, and I suppose that on top of that, you've also got, if you've got accounting firms that have a subscription with Futurely and they've got X amount of clients attached, so they know how much that accounting firm is spending on that app. So they well, they're quite willing to spend £300 or £400 a month because they've attached 100 clients there. Well, we can do a mega deal with our accounting software with the same. And then it might think, accountants are, when it comes to spending money, I know, and I'm trying to sell to accountants quite a lot, and I've actually given up sometimes. I just let the end user come direct. But with accounting firms, they do not like spending money. I know that for a fact. So if there's a thing, I can do exactly the same job and spend half that money, I know what's going to happen eventually. They think, I can do exactly the same reporting. I don't need that bit. I don't need that functionality that might be in one of the other two. So actually, I'll just use Sage for that.
Yeah,
that's possibly how it could. I don't know. I'm just speculating.
But Sage are starting to build quite a nice little ecosystem, haven't they? It's kind of all enclosed. If you're going to use just the Sage products, it's all working. We saw that you went to their show, didn't you, where they kind of showcase their end goal and what it looks like and everything else. So yeah, fair play. I think that's they're obviously on we've always said this, they're playing catch up, but I think that's a clever way of catching up, isn't it? By creating an ecosystem that people actually, looks like it's not a half bad ecosystem to be part of, does it?
Yeah, I mean they are doing a pretty good job. You've got to say, their stand at Accountex was probably the most impressive one there.
Yeah, agreed. And as we always said, free coffee as well. So win-win.
But as long as my view is, I don't have a problem with whether it's Sage or Iris or whoever buying up these other products, so long as firstly they develop them, and secondly, obviously I'm happy if they want to offer massive discounts for if you've got, let's say, if you're already a user of, say, Go Proposal, they give you a massive, or let's say you're already a user of Tax Filer, Iris give you a massive discount to then bring Centre on board as well. I think I added Centre to my Tax Filer package for about an extra £2 a month. So if they want to do that, that's fine, as long as they don't try to block or reduce the features of the original core product, in this case, let's say Tax Filer or Centre, for people who don't want to use the other products within that ecosystem. So if you're a Centre user and QuickBooks or Xero, they shouldn't reduce the features of Centre or develop new features for Centre that only work if you're using Sage bookkeeping. Sorry, Iris bookkeeping in this case. As long as they keep them open and just offer you discounts to stay within the system, but feature-wise it's agnostic, then I don't have a problem.
Sounds like an absolute winner, and it should be taken for granted that either, because the MailChimp acquisition by QuickBooks, still yet to see any form of discounts. I've been using it since the day they announced it, and I'm paying stupid amount of money to MailChimp each and every time, and we've not seen any option of a discount or anything. So yeah, we shouldn't take it for granted. I think it's where it is. But great segue though, because, and I'm glad you're both sitting down here, because this one's going to be something we definitely didn't see coming. But Iris is looking to innovate products that they purchased. I can't believe I'm saying these words myself, but it looks like there is a whole way in which they're looking to bring into account both, like you were saying there about the idea of bringing Tax Filer and Center all into one product. And they're going to call it Elements, is what they're going to call it, or Cloud Elements. Elements Cloud Suite is their proper terminology for it, and they would no longer be developed in isolation, but instead integrated into the Elements Cloud Suite ecosystem. Interestingly, and I don't know if this is something that's just completely died, but surely they would have brought their bookkeeping solution into that as well. The cash flow people, it is cash flow, isn't it, with a K? But that seems to not be there. So yeah, interesting. So what do you think to this one then? I mean, that's got to be this has to be positive news all around, hasn't it? That there's going to be some form of push, some sort of form of opportunity there for everyone to kind of get involved in. So what's everyone's thoughts on that one? Ash, you want to go first?
Yeah, well, I mean, I still use Tax Filer. I mean, I've got a handful of, friends, if you like, that I do tax returns for, and a couple of businesses where I just draft them, use it to draft up accounts more than anything. So as long as so the Center stuff, I have absolutely no requirement for that at all. So if it sort of comes in and they get merged into the two, and it means my subscription goes up as a result, I'll probably end up looking for something else, because I wouldn't, necessarily need it. So, I'm only going to do my tax return, a few others. Most of them I'm doing tax returns for free for people. So I'm only basically paying for something for maybe 2 or 3 companies, really. So, yeah, something I'd have to sort of consider whether it's definitely needed.
I get it. But what about you, Charlie? What do you think to this news? It's good, bad?
Potentially good. Well, no, it is good. It is good. An integration is good. I'm on the Center Facebook group, which is anybody who uses Center, by the way, I would definitely join the Center Facebook group. It's very, very active, and it's users of Center as well as Center themselves. So it's a useful resource. And there's been a lot of complaint on there from Center users about this, and I'm not sure I 100% agree with those complaints, because what Iris have said they're doing is they're taking the basics of Center, they're putting it into their Elements platform. So it's not a direct copy. They're taking I'm not a programmer, but they're taking the basic idea of the code and then recoding it in their platform. So it is a recoding from scratch, I believe. But basically, it will have all the same features and do the same thing, and the data will all migrate across. And that will then be in a platform that, exactly as you say, Aaron, they can then integrate all of the other tax and anti-money laundering and all the other features that they want to in there. And they've not said they're putting the price up, and as long as they don't put the price up, I'm not sure that any Center user should be concerned about that. On the tax side of it, I'm just looking at their website, and I looked at it before. Their tax thing is called Smart Tax, the Elements element, if you forgive the pun, of tax is Smart Tax. And I thought that was a completely new product from Tax Filer. I didn't think it was Tax Filer migrated. I thought they were keeping Tax Filer as a standalone product, but maybe they have taken Tax Filer and put it in.
Same option or same idea where they're migrating the code over and everything else.
Is that right?
Yeah,
okay.
It sounds like it. Yeah.
Yeah. When I was at the SEMA conference in Chester a couple of weeks ago, Iris were there with a stand, and they did actually give me a very quick sort of demo or quick overview of putting the accounts in, and basically it looked exactly like Tax Filer.
Okay.
I mean, the chap sort of said it. He goes, "We've started it from fresh, but you'll you'll notice it looks very similar. And then I said, oh, yeah, it does look exactly the same.
Okay, well, that's good. I mean, it's interesting because I'm looking at the Elements website. They've got sent up by Iris, so making sure, so they've kept the brand, whereas their tax thing is just called Iris Element Smart Tax. So given that TaxFiler does have a good brand name, it's got good brand recognition within the profession. It's very much liked by the profession. So if it is under the hood the same product, I'm surprised they've not kept the brand.
I suppose if they keep it separate, then they've got that whole idea of just keep building on that brand, because the tax filer isn't really it doesn't seem to be very Iris focused, does it? You don't kind of get thrown Iris at you with that one.
Right.
I suppose the only danger of this particular model is that this Iris Elements might start getting new features, new bells and whistles, new opportunities, new everything else. And who's to say they're going to transfer that over to TaxFiler or Center at the same time? It could be that's where they're going to focus their development time on.
Well, I mean, they have very much said on Center that people who want to stay on the Center platform as it stands are free to do so. But they won't be developing it. Yeah, so they won't develop it, which is why, I said, I mean, unless they put the price up, I see no reason why any Center user wouldn't want to move across once they've announced that they can migrate the data cleanly. I see no reason not to move across, and I would think the same would be true of TaxFiler. I guess the thing I'd like to see in TaxFiler, if they are developing from scratch, will be the thing that we've all asked for years, which is the ability to change the names of the accounts on the detailed P&L, which you've not been able to do to date, is probably the biggest ask.
But the idea of that integration is wonderful, though, isn't it? The idea that your practice management solution can be updated by when you file a tax return. That's then updated to say it's been done. It's it's where it is. What it'll probably end up doing is everyone that's on the tax filer side, Center kind of going to be their main choice. I know we've got accounting manager and Center at the moment, but it's kind of, if you want all of those integrations and you want all the bells and whistles, you're kind of going to have to go with Center, aren't you? And go from there. It's almost going to put a divide of your accountancy manager solution is going to be dependent on what you file your taxes on. So yeah, it's going to be interesting.
Well, again, I mean, it's a bit like I was saying earlier. I would hope that they leave these integrations open, and if you want to use Accountancy Manager or Pixie or what's the other one? I've forgotten what it's called. Carbon. Thank you. Then the ability to continue to do that and have some sort of integration, I would very much hope they would keep. I would hate to see these big companies close down their ecosystems and force you in. It's I don't think that would be good for the profession.
Yeah, agreed. Absolutely agreed on that one. Let's hope so then. Let's hope that's how it's going to go. But yeah, it was, I think more than anything, we're just shocked to see that there is some innovation going on in the acquired space of Iris. I think that's good for everyone, isn't it? Even if they do kind of leave the current offerings in the as they are, and they only innovate on the element side, at least that means that innovation is coming forward. So that's good to see. Wonderful. All right, two more topics to go then. Next one is MTD for ITSA. Ash, you said there's a bit of an update on kind of uptake on what's happening in the world. Do you want to kind of give us a bit of a breakdown on that and we can have a chat about it?
Yeah, I was trying to find the link to the article, but I can't find it. But I was just scrolling through LinkedIn as you do. Or as I do sort of most days, have a sort of a quick glance through. And there was a post on there about the uptake on people signing up for the sort of the pilot scheme. And 2 or 3 years ago, in one particular month, there was 500 or so companies signing up in a month, and then last month there was 9. So there was basically been a huge downward spiral of people signing up for the pilot scheme to start filing their tax. I think the main reason for that is because there's been only fairly simple tax businesses are able to do it. So if you've got a property or anything that's fairly complicated at the moment, you can't use the pilot scheme, which is a little bit tricky when most businesses aren't that straightforward. There's usually something a little bit more complicated. So it's a shame I couldn't find the article on LinkedIn, because there was so many comments on you know, is HMRC are they going to defer it? Are they going to just stop it? Are they going to, you know, as we sort of mentioned just before we went on air, that's unlikely. I think all the software companies, QuickBooks, Sage, who have been talking about making tax digital for the past how many years, of thinking, what is HMRC doing to us? Because you're trying to make us do all of these things, and now you're basically saying, oh, we don't need it this year. We don't need it this year. We don't need it this year. Oh, it's a nightmare.
Yeah, the way I see it is that I've been banging and banging on the door for all the software providers I work with to get involved in the ITSA into the beta and everything else. And you're right, it's so restrictive that we've just not been able to find one. And also the software providers themselves haven't quite, the ones I've been working with haven't quite been ready to kind of go live on the beta yet on it. So it is going to be difficult, but it's so like we're so in the dark at the moment as to how it's going to work and everything else. The more we can test it out, the better it's going to be for everyone. So, Charlie, what's your thoughts on it? Do you think it's going to be delayed, or do you think it's going to be canned?
In terms of what, from HMRC's perspective, with MTD?
Yeah.
I would be staggered. I mean, who knows? I mean, after yesterday, we could have a new government next week. But I think it goes beyond government. I mean, I think the Treasury are so fixated on it now. Wasn't it David Gauke years ago started this all off when he was Secretary of the Treasury or whatever he was? But I think for HMRC to not do it now would be very surprising. What I suspect may well happen is that they will announce that the first year, possibly even longer, will be a soft launch. And they did this with VAT. If you didn't file it under MTD for the first year, in fact, I think it went 2 years, and not just the voluntary ones, but anybody, because they kept the voluntary ones back. Then they weren't going to penalise, and they said there's no penalties, but learn how to do it in time for next year. I suspect that's what they'll do with MTD for ITSA. It will be voluntary. I mean, the fact that neither QuickBooks or Xero have yet got an MTD for ITSA solution ready yet, and it's less than a year from launch, I think is pretty strong evidence that the market isn't really ready yet. I actually just started. I just set up some clients ready to test on a system called Coconut recently. Yeah. Not using it yet. I've set them up, and I'm going to be testing it this month for those clients to see what it's like. Coconut, I don't think they've still got it, but they did have a nice system for accountants, or a nice offer for accountants of 5 clients for £5, so £1 each for 5, which I got in on, which is rather nice. If you ask them nicely, they may even offer it. I've no idea, but I think that closed at the end of May, so that's a potentially nice system. When I had a little demo with them, and it looks like they can cope. They claim to cope with the situation that Ash mentioned. So if you've got, for example, whether you've got a sole trade and a property, or whether you've got a property on your own and another property with your partner, and so you've got different shares of different things, I believe it can already cope with that, or will do very, very soon, like within the next month or two. Yeah. So that's very promising, and that looks like an interesting solution for the smaller solutions for whom perhaps QuickBooks and Xero, unless they launch a cheaper product within their ecosystem that does it, I think
QBSE all over again.
Option. Well, not QBSE. I mean, if QuickBooks, I say I don't use Xero, but if QuickBooks were to launch one that's for the simpler one, I would very much hope it'll be a simple start type proposition where it's cheaper, but it's part of the same code base, and if you want to upgrade to the full version, you just pay more money. You don't have to transfer data across. It's in the same platform already. I think that would be essential.
Definitely. It's interesting. There's only 9 or whatever the number was, Ash, because Free Agent launched there. It's last month, so that kind of may give an indication of how many people are using Free Agent for ITSA at this point in time. Then, so because I was tempted to jump on theirs, but decided against it. All right, well, time for our final bit, and this is just a bit of a thing for everyone. So I was actually watching the WWDC last night, which is Apple's little announcement area where they announce all their new technology and gadgets and everything else. And QuickBooks themselves had a little appear, and I'm sorry about the display, but they were appeared here on this icon showing casing their little involvement in one of the updates. And this update here is all about, instead of having passwords and having logins, they're developing a new solution called Passkey. And the idea is, instead of having passwords and everything else, it's about having, you know, your Face ID, your fingerprint, to be able to get yourself into all of these apps. And it's all about having a more secure way of attaching. Then that way you can't, you know, have your account compromised if you lose passwords, and there's all this manner of stuff, and means that you can jump into them on different apps much quicker. And it's you know, a whole new system that they're bringing in. And I did notice QuickBooks was there, so I kind of tweeted out, or Instagram, whichever one it was, social media presence to QuickBooks themselves, and they gave me a winky face when I asked if that means that this is going to be there from day one. So fingers crossed, we'll keep an eye on that one, because we all like the idea of being able to get into our software solution quicker and easier, don't we, without having to have two-factor authentications and all that sort of stuff that we're kind of accustomed to now. But it'll be better if we can find a better and easier solution to get into our data. So I must say, Xero's way of doing it does work really, really well, where you just press the little button, and I don't know if you know, it comes up on your watch, you press attach, agreed, it's you or whatever, and in there. So yeah, and more these sort of innovations to getting ourselves into our data, and the chance that we could, or the opportunity that we'll lose less data and get less compromised, all the better for it. And then that is the end of today's session. Then I forgot to ask you about about the dates and stuff last time, but instead of telling people what the dates are, let's go straight with what people have got planned, or what they want to announce, or what they want to promote. Let's go around the room then and let people know what you're doing on social media and all that stuff going forward. Ash, do you want to go first?
Yeah, well, why not? Yeah, so next week I'll fly off to Florida. First trip to the US for me. So I'll be at Scaling New Heights for a few days. So really exciting for me to go over there and do that. Meet up with some of the people that used to work for QuickBooks as well while I'm there, and meet up with other pro advisors from the US and Canada. So yeah, very, very much looking forward to that. We're also, for NetTracker, we've just started scoping out our next new feature for loans within product, and that'll be loans. We're going to have two features for that: loans borrowings and loans lending. So even if you've lend money to your staff and you want to monitor that and charge your staff interest on a loan, you can do, and that will happen in exactly the same way that you incur interest charges for HP or mortgages, and all of those journals will happen automatically, detect the transactions, automatically reconcile through the statements between NetTracker and your accounting software of choice.
Love it. Charlie, what have you got to push, promote, everything else?
I guess the only thing I would say is anybody watching this who is a QuickBooks Pro advisor, I've got a Facebook group for QuickBooks Pro advisors, and I've said this is for pro advisors, not for people working strictly within a company, because it's about sharing ideas and experiences. And that's, if you're in Facebook, just look for QBOA UK, QuickBooks Online Accountant UK. There are a couple of little questions. A lot of people, I don't know whether I think it's a problem with Facebook. When you join a group, sometimes it asks you a question and people don't spot them on some of their phone apps. So do make sure you answer a couple of questions. They're very, just, are you a pro advisor and have you been certified, that kind of thing. If you answer those, and then we'll let you in. And it's a lot of people find it a very useful group, a great place to ask questions, share ideas, and learn.
Definitely would highly recommend joining the group. For me, dead straightforward. Tomorrow I'm at QuickBooks. I'm at Digital Accounting Show, fireside chat at 12:30 p.m. I will be chatting away with Rachel, who's another guest that appears on the show from time to time. So yeah, come along if you're at Digital Accounting Show, say hello, and we can go from there. So with that, I think that's the end of today's show. What would be good if people can give some feedback on what do you think to the new format and how that's working for everyone else. We're going to have a little rehash and rebrand at some point so we can kind of see it. Maybe even change the name, QuickBooks Labs. Maybe that's been thrown around. Might have a new name in store for everyone. But yeah, if you want to make sure that you follow us on the Facebook page to make sure you have any future episodes, and we should be back, hopefully, fingers crossed, first Wednesday of each and every month. It's 4 o'clock or 4:30 GMT and 10:30 US Central Time. So that is a goodbye from me. And guys, you want to say goodbye?
Goodbye.
Bye.
Everybody.
Cheers, everyone. And awkwardly, as always, I'm about to find the outro. Bye for now.